Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's Life Conversations with a Twist. I have Terry on today. We just met, which is what most of my podcast guests I get to experience. But I love these conversations because they're usually super organic and we just dive in. And before I hit record, I was just telling Terry that I'm 43. I'm about to be 43, and like everything that you do in your career and in your whole entire life is going to be such a hot topic for my listeners. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Heather. It's a pleasure.
So tell the listeners a little bit about who you are. You have you do a lot, which is love this, and tell us a little bit about the work that you're doing, and then we'll just dive right in.
I am a health and wellness coach for women over 40, and I also run in-person retreats. This year, it has been in Tennessee mostly. We actually only have one spot still available for the entire year. I think I did 20 retreats this year, and the last one is October 1st to 5th. There's one room still open.
Do you always
So
have them in Tennessee?
this year they've always been in Tennessee, but next year we're adding Sedona and we're going to do two in the south of France. And then after that, we're going to add probably Spain, Italy, and possibly Lake Tahoe. So stay tuned.
Tell me when you're in Lake Tahoe, because I live in California. So that would definitely be something in my wheelhouse. Do you live in Tennessee?
I'm actually based out of New Jersey, but I'm half and half in Tennessee and New Jersey.
Awesome. Okay, sorry. Totally digress. So retreats.
Yes, and coaching. So all that information you can find on my website, thehouseofrose.com.
Awesome. I love it. How did you get here? Like, I'm always curious because I do podcasts. Obviously, I'm a podcaster, but I also do retreats too. And it's not something that, you wake up and you're like, I am going to be this like health coach and life coach and that. How did your journey get to where you are today?
So my philosophy on how to become a coach is actually you have to be coached for a long time. You have to go through the experience of being coached. And that started for me in 2019. So January 2019 is when I had reached a point of the worst possible place in life. I had a business for advertising and marketing, and I had started it probably about 20 years prior to that. And I was very busy. So, as most business owners, we are overwhelmed, overworked, overstressed. And I happened to also gain 80 pounds in that period of time. So, I was also overweight, and I'm 5'3". I weighed in at about 210 pounds. And I had my first child at 30, my second child at 35. And then at 37, Perry knocked on the front door, walked in, and made herself a roommate of mine.
I love it. I love that you act like she's your friend. Sometimes you just have to embrace the evil, right?
She moved in and unannounced. I didn't even know that that was in the cards for me. And sometimes I didn't even know that Perry had entered. The majority of that time, I didn't even know, wasn't told that Perry was coming, right? And staying. And I'm talking about perimenopause and all kinds of things went haywire on me. And I had no idea what was happening.
Mhm.
So I started having intense anxiety, intense panic attacks, started abusing alcohol. I was very overwhelmed with just normal life things that I could handle before. I wasn't able to handle them. Now, the plot twist is at 37, I was still wearing pregnancy clothes because I was not able to drop the weight.
Mm.
And so my mind was in a completely different place, right? I had a 2-year-old that was wearing pregnancy clothes. What is this thing, perimenopause? That wasn't even in the cards for me. It wasn't even crossing my mind. So I experienced a lot of very odd symptoms, and I thought it was mainly due to the fact that I was overweight. And so I started this journey of trying to figure out how do I lose weight? And eventually ended up knocking on the door of a coach who guided me through the right way of losing weight and getting in shape and building muscle. And yeah, and then at 42, Perry moved out.
But you lost 80 pounds.
I did. I lost 80 pounds. So the first year I lost 30, and then the next 2 years I lost another 50. And that's how I became a coach. So I went through the entire experience of being a business owner, being overwhelmed, overstressed, going through perimenopause, going through a health journey, losing 80 pounds naturally. So this was about 12 years ago that I started, that we didn't have all the fancy things we have now. HRT wasn't even a thing back then. Like I had never even heard of HRT until a couple of years ago. And obviously GLP was not part of the landscape back then. And so I had to do it the old-fashioned way. And yeah, so that's how I got here.
I have so many questions because I'm literally sitting here in the same exact space you were, but I'm 43. Definitely not in my like weight that I would like to be. And I battle this because I'm about to be a surrogate again. And so I'm like, in my head, I'm like, oh, I'm going to be pregnant. So like, just give up. Super stressed all the time, own two businesses, have three kids. Like, I totally get it. And it's so hard because some days you're like you do really good and you have this routine and you know you're working out and you're eating healthy and then you just have one bad day and it just like totally just sets you back. Tell us a little bit about what that journey was like for you for 80, to lose 80 pounds and like how even if there's some tips on like how to get started and how to continue.
Yeah, so lots of trial and error, a lot of failure, a lot of days that were off, a lot of learnings, a lot of self-sabotage that just kind of creeps out of nowhere that you're not even aware that it's self-sabotage, right? So a lot of times self-sabotage shows up as a really kind voice. It shows up as, oh, but you're so tired. You worked so hard, take a break today. And it sounds like a really good idea, but that's self-sabotage. Or things like, oh, one piece of chocolate cake is not going to hurt you. It's not that big of a deal. And then you have it, and then you go through the entire cycle of shame and blame and quitting and then restarting over again. So, that's also self-sabotage. There's so many ways that it shows up. And part of the journey is uncovering all of the different faces
Mm.
of old stories that we have adopted as our own, that we tell ourselves repetitively over and over again, that may not be true any longer. And so that whole process of rediscovering who we are, what our purpose is, what our passion is, what are some outdated ideas, thoughts, and beliefs and stories that we tell ourselves daily, and how do we get past that? That's all part of the journey. That is actually the journey, but the weight loss and the fitness and the nutrition are just the gateway into that whole experience. And so one of the things I always tell women is don't give yourself a timeline, right? So you have some body fat you want to drop. A lot of times I hear things like, I need to drop this in 3 months. I have 50 pounds. I need to lose I have 3 months. I need to lose 50 pounds. And that's the first sign of sabotage right there, right? Because what it implies is that there's an end to the journey, that there's an end to the diet, quote unquote. There's an end to the lifestyle. And as soon as we reach that point, we can go back to quote unquote normal life.
Mm.
And that was the cycle I was in, right? So I would do these things, I'd drop a couple of pounds, and I'd go right back to the way I was before. And that kept repeating over and over again until I finally realized, like, hey, man, like, you got to do this for life. If you have one day where you fall off the wagon, that's okay. You get right back on and you continue like nothing happened. Because otherwise, you're just going to regress back.
Hmm. It's truly a lifestyle change. I mean, yeah, you can't just I mean, even just creating a habit takes like 30 days. So now you only have 3 months and then you've adapted these new habits and then you just go back and it's like, I could just imagine this like yo-yo of effects, but it's really the mindset of like, this is a long-term change. This is a long-term lifestyle change that you have to make in order to achieve the goal.
You know, they say it takes 30 days, but I don't agree because in my personal experience, my lived experience, as well as coaching other women, personally, I think it takes 12 months.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Especially, I mean, especially in your world. I mean, that was your journey, right? And I love that. What you hear all these stories about, especially at our age, and I'm saying our age because I'm assuming, how old are you? You're still in our,
I'm going to be 49 this year.
okay. That we need to do more weights, that we do less cardio, that we, do more Pilates and strength training. Like, what is your experience and what types of exercise at our age should we be focusing on?
So each person is very individual, right?
Mhm.
It depends on your fitness history, on your nutrition history. It depends on what you've been doing the last 2 years. Have you been exercising in any capacity in the past 2 years? What does your nutrition look like? So there's a lot of bio-individual markers that need to be taken into consideration. So for example, if someone has been lifting weights consistently, let's say for 5 years, my approach would be to look at their strength, obviously, their mobility, flexibility, stability, and their cardio fitness, and start incorporating a little bit of that while also still keeping the weights, right? So cardio is great. I, I I'm not subscribing to the latest social media messaging out there that we all need to stop doing cardio, because if you're not in good cardiovascular shape, you will have a pretty hard time doing weightlifting, right? Because
Mhm.
you need to have that capacity there, right? And if you do a lot of weightlifting over time, you start losing mobility and flexibility because you're not necessarily doing yoga and Pilates. So I'm not against yoga Pilates either. But if you've only been doing yoga and Pilates and have done no strength training whatsoever your entire life, then that's another area where it could be you could use some improvement. So it really depends. I my my programs include everything.
Mhm.
So every program includes, and how much of it depends on the person, but every program and every woman in my coaching team does Pilates, yoga, cardio, steps, strength training, and nutrition.
It's all wrapped into one. And I would assume you customize it. Like you said, like everybody's bodies are different. Everybody's bodies take to different types of exercises. There's not like one perfect little box that everyone can fit into.
Absolutely, but strength training is a non-negotiable, especially as we get a little bit older.
What about nutrition? I feel like that's always, such a hard one. What is some advice or tips that you have for nutrition? And especially I would say like busy moms. I mean, you obviously know firsthand being, doing all the things that you do. How do you maintain a better nutrition lifestyle?
So something that I notice often, and it's if I and when I say often, I mean all the time. I see this very, very often is under eating
Mm,
and inconsistent eating. And that's a reflection of our lifestyle, right? So we're very busy. A lot of us don't like to eat in the morning. Many of us don't eat enough protein. So the average amount of protein, if I were to look at everybody that I've worked with, and so far it's been about 600 women that I've worked with directly, either at retreats or direct coaching. The average, I would say, that a woman eats as far as protein without intervention, without a coach, is about 70 grams of protein per day, which is the absolute bare minimum just to function,
wow.
right? And then the other thing I noticed for women that do not have a coach is most of the time they don't eat breakfast. They do unintentional intermittent fasting. So their first meal of the day is usually 1 p.m., 12 p.m. Sometimes I've seen all the way into 4 p.m. And the caloric intake per day is inconsistent. So one day I'll see something like 600 calories for the entire day. And then the next day I'll see 3,500 calories because they're compensating for the deficiency of the day prior, right? So there's a lot of inconsistency as far as calories across the week, for example. And then the other thing I see quite often is it goes hand in hand with the low protein is very high amounts of fat per day and carbs. Um, so yeah, that's what I would advise not to do. So do the opposite of those things.
Great. So yes, I am the worst at all of it, and I know that. I actually, you had mentioned this when you were talking about how your lifestyle was before you lost 80 pounds. And this is something that I struggle with, but I also see my friends struggle with is alcohol. Especially, I live in wine country, which is like one of the biggest, wine producers in United States. So it's always around us. It's always available for us. And I feel like as moms, as you said, it's like there's so much stress. And so you're like, oh, I'm just gonna have a glass of wine, and wine at the end of the night. And like a bottle later, you're like, great, I just drank a whole bottle. What is your advice on how to kick that, how to maybe limit it? I think that is probably all of our biggest struggle, especially when we're like socializing.
Such a great question, right? So that's how I started.
Hmm.
I would have a glass of wine and then two, three, then four, then the bottle, right?
Yep.
And I would drink the whole bottle of, I mean, it's not that hard, all right?
It's not. I'm like, yes, it's not hard.
It's really not. And then the bottle would be gone. And then I would start thinking, oh wow, what else can I do? So that's when the vodka started coming out. And I disguised it as a very specific drink. I was very picky about it because God forbid, I'm gonna call myself an alcoholic. And so I would have the Grey Goose on the rocks with a basil and a mint muddled with a spritz of lime. And I would start that, right? And then one wouldn't be enough. I'd have two, I'd have three. And then all of a sudden, one morning you wake up, meaning me, and the first thought in your mind is, do I have enough Grey Goose for later tonight, right? And that really took me by surprise because I was like, whoa, 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 hold on a minute. That's your first thought. That's what you're thinking first thing in the morning. That's a red flag, right?
Mhm.
And I started the journey of getting rid of it, stopping it. What I did is it had become a habit, right? And
Mhm.
it had become a ritual. And so I had to figure out how do I replace that? And I ended up replacing it with ice cream and Nutella and all kinds of things that was not supposed to do because I didn't know that when you kick alcohol, you're going to have massive sugar cravings, right? Because it's all sugar.
Yeah.
And then I had to figure out how do I replace ice cream and Nutella, right? And so I came up with the Ninja Creamy Protein Ice Cream, and I could have a huge, giant pint-sized portion of that for 280 calories, the way that I created it with almond milk and 0% yogurt, Greek yogurt, and some flavoring. And I could have a nice big pint. And if I compare that to Haagen-Dazs was 1,500 calories, and I was snagging that at 280, okay?
Mhm.
And so I figured out substitutions and replacements. So I substituted alcohol with sugar. That was not a good idea. And then I had to figure out how do I substitute those things with lower caloric, higher volume foods that were going to keep me on track as far as my weight loss goal was concerned. And that would be my idea. Find a way to replace the habit and the ritual, because our mind is looking for it more than our body is. It's kind of like our coping mechanism. So maybe we can find something else that will give us the same relief in a sense, but without the ethanol or the sugar.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, that's the hard one, right? I think that's the once you can master that, yeah, I feel like you would feel so much better. And I love the like your journey through that. You're like, okay, sugar, and now someone just posted the other day, they're like, this is like a high protein like tiramisu. That had like, and I was like, I need that. Like again, it's like substituting something with high protein but still tastes yummy. And now I feel like there's so many options out there. I mean, you can search the internet for all kinds of things of way to incorporate more protein and make it taste yummy. So I love
And
that.
there's lots of non-alcoholic wines, non-alcoholic, all kinds of mixed drinks that you could still have the sensation and the ritual and the habit without the ethanol.
Yeah. I know I just went to Total Wine and More, not to get non-alcoholic by any means, but I walked down the aisle and I was like, I was so surprised how many options there are now. And it's just continuing to grow. So, because I think, again, I'm here in the wine country and some of my clients are wineries and they're like, well, people aren't drinking anymore. And you're like, you're right. They're not. So like how, as a winery, do you still like engage and create an experience without the alcohol as a focus? So, it's, I feel like an ongoing conversation, but I loved your advice on that. I definitely need to take note on that. So you do one-on-one coaching and your retreats. Talk about your retreats. Do you talk about the same things as you do in your one-on-one coaching? And what does your retreats experiences look like?
Sometimes, so sometimes people are interested in these topics like nutrition, strength training, yoga, Pilates, mindset, sleep habits, alcohol, things like that. Sometimes people are interested, and sometimes people just want to enjoy their time in a fitness type of environment. So our retreats are all based around lifestyle medicine. So we go through the actual activities that help your exercise and your activity level. We do yoga, Pilates, hiking. We do have a strength training circuit class. We do some really great meals and nutritional type of demonstrations, essentially, where I show people how to put things together, and the cuisine is all Mediterranean food, which is known for its health benefits. We spend a lot of time in nature. So we go out and we hike in the Smoky Mountains and in the Cherokee National Forest. We go and spend some time at waterfalls. And then we also, connect, right? So all the women connect with each other. They share their experiences and their lives with each other. They start to form relationships that they can carry on forward after the retreat. And we talk about sleep, right? How important sleep is. We get spa treatments and facials and massages. We talk about the lymphatic system. We actually had a workshop on how to do lymphatic dry brushing with a workshop around it. We had a sushi class, a cooking class at another retreat. We do photo shoots, right? So if someone has something to celebrate, we do a flying dress photo shoot, which is fabulous.
Oh my
One
God,
of
how
my favorite.
fun. Are
Yeah.
they like obviously multiple day retreats?
They're 5-day retreats. Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Um, we as in my co partner in our retreats, we've done like overnights, like two overnights, and then we do day because we're trying to like see what the market. So I'm always like intrigued what everybody else is doing. How many people typically go to these events? Or is it like do you try and keep it to a smaller group, bigger, or does it
We try to keep it up to 10 people.
yeah, yeah. I think I mean, you can probably relate, especially in your early parts of the retreat. It's like you want more people there, but then the more you start to do them and they are more intimate, there's such a bigger impact that happens. And so smaller, I always feel is better.
Yeah, absolutely. I love small retreats. They allow people to connect on a deeper level, to have more meaningful conversations. So yeah, absolutely.
I love it. I definitely definitely let me know when you're in Lake Tahoe because I would love to look into that for sure. What talk about your podcast? You have a podcast. What is the topics that you talk about and how can people find you?
So we talk about transformation in all senses, right? So personal, professional, emotional, relationships. We talk about how to get over some self-sabotaging behaviors, how to manifest. There's a new episode coming out on that. Energy and things like that. So it's a very exciting love project. We have a few new episodes coming out, so I'm excited about that.
I love that. How long have you been doing podcasting?
It's been, I think, maybe a year.
Okay. And do you do solo episodes?
I don't.
You don't. You're,
I have a thing about, I can't get used to talking to myself.
it is very bizarre. I have to like record myself with the camera off because I get like too distracted to I like look at myself. So I do more interviews, but occasionally I will do some solos. But yeah, I'm with you. It's hard to talk to yourself. You keep saying we. I'm assuming you have a team behind you.
Well, there's always a team and everything, right? So
Yeah.
absolutely, there's a team, and I appreciate them very much. We have yoga teacher, spa therapist, chef. There are more coaches for the one-on-one coaching. Yeah, so.
I love it. What's next for you?
I really love everything I'm doing, so I want to keep it all the same. There is a cookbook coming out later this year of all the different recipes that we serve at the House of Rose, all Mediterranean cuisine. And there's a Sedona retreat next year and a South of France. And I will cap it at that because I am happy with all the things.
I love that. I know I feel like I do too much, but I'm like, but I love everything I do. So it's like, how do you continue to be inspired and not feel like you work so much? But it's like you love everything you do.
Absolutely.
What is the House of Rose?
That's the coaching and the retreats company.
Got it. Okay. And then you said the cookbook has the meals from that. So when you're doing coaching with people, you provide them with meals, recipes, things like that.
Exactly. Yes.
I love that. Anything else that you want to talk about from your journey? Any little fun takeaways for the listeners today?
Just hang in there. Eventually, Perry's going to move out of your house. And you can celebrate that day. And she's gonna ghost you. Okay. She's not even gonna tell you she's moving out. She's just gonna one day sneak out the back door, and you're gonna be like, oh wow. I got all my space back. I got my body back. I got all these, I got my mind back. You're just gonna feel a lot better. So, I totally understand. It is a whirlwind during that period of time when she's there, but inevitably she will leave. There is an end point to it, okay?
It's not
And
forever.
yes.
What is the typical like span in perimenopause?
Everybody's really different, right? So
Yeah.
I started at 37 and finished at 42, but a lot of people start later and it lasts longer. Some people start in their 50s and it goes all the way into their 60s. So everybody's really different. It's very bio-individual. It depends on your lifestyle, your stress level. A lot of people enter early perimenopause due to stress, which, I feel like I'm one of those people. I was very stressed back then. I don't know. Maybe it's genetic, maybe it's hereditary. I have no idea, but it's very individual. But I am hearing a lot more and more women entering perimenopause in their mid 30s.
And then after perimenopause, there's menopause. Is there usually a certain time between the two? Like, do you get a little bit of break and then this next
So,
chapter happens?
so menopause is literally one day.
Oh, that's
It's the
right. Okay.
last day. of when your period showed up. And then after that, it's postmenopause.
And then it's hopefully chill again.
Hopefully, right?
It is a wild time, and my husband is like, "What is wrong with you?" And I'm like, "I don't even know." Like some days I don't even know. I just feel not myself, and yeah, it's hard to feel grounded and stay motivated when you're just not feeling right. And but you're telling me that if we continue to eat health better, exercise, some of those symptoms kind of subside a little bit.
And reduce stress. That's a big one.
Yeah.
So take things away for a little bit, right? Give yourself room to go through this natural and normal transition in life so that you're not so overwhelmed because your body's working really hard, right? It's kind of like being a teenager again. So if you think about what the body goes through in the adolescence years, you're in a growth spurt, your hormones are fluctuating. There's a lot of things happening mentally, right? Your things are changing, right, in adolescence. And think about what a critical time that is for us and how volatile it could be. There's lots of things that could happen in either direction, good, bad, neutral, right? So if we don't have or we don't give ourselves the mental space and the physical space and a little bit of relief from stress, we're just constantly operating in overdrive. So menopause, perimenopause is the same thing. We're going through a very similar thing. The only other time we go through something like that for some women is pregnancy, right? So imagine going through pregnancy and having an avalanche of constant nagging responsibilities and obligations and not having, 2 minutes to breathe. It would be a very stressful experience. Same thing with perimenopause. Just give yourself the space and the grace and the time to go through it.
Such great advice. I had a question that popped up into my head, and I remember it being one of the topics is you mentioned hormones, but I feel like that I'm in this stage that like the sexual world is just not for me. Like I find myself not like excited or like want to be intimate with my husband. Is that part of the symptoms for perimenopause?
Sometimes for some people. So think about your libido prior to this, right?
Mhm.
And I get this question all the time. So think about, let's say in your 30s. If someone were to put you in a situation where you were working 16 hours a day, you barely had time to brush your hair, take a shower, brush your teeth, whatever, right? You were constantly hounded by, doesn't matter what, let's say 10 adults at work constantly needed something from you. You're not in perimenopause, but you're so stressed that your hormonal system is contributing its energy. Your libido is contributing its energy. Think about it as, you're borrowing energy from all your systems in order to operate in this highly intensified state of needs that you need to get done throughout the day. Would you go home and would you have any energy for anything else?
No.
Right. And so with perimenopause, you have less energy than you normally would, let's say in your 30s, because your body is performing a whole bunch of other functions behind the scenes that you're not even aware of, right? It's happening automatically, right?
Mhm.
And so now you're trying to operate in the same capacity that you are used to, but behind the scenes, you have less resources.
Mhm.
Because the body's busy and the body's like, hey man, listen, we're like, there's construction going on here. I know you're oblivious to it or whatever, but we still need resources for what's happening. And you're like, no, 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 no. I gotta do all this other stuff over there. And the body's like, sorry.
Yeah.
That's not how it works, right? And so we're disconnected from that because there's so much expectation in our, you know, human life that we put onto ourselves, so many obligations that, there's a disconnect between what's actually happening and what we're trying to achieve on the front end of it.
So how do we tell our husband that? Because they are like, well, you're not attracted to me anymore, or you never want to be intimate. And I'm like, I literally just am at capacity and I just want to go to sleep right now.
Mhm. So how about if the husband tries to take some of that stuff away from you, right? So how about giving you 3 hours a day just to get back into your body, right? Like embody yourself, come back into your body where you have a few hours of breathing space to feel like yourself again and to have something to give, right?
Mhm.
Because when you're being intimate, you're giving something, you're expending your energy towards that activity or that person energetically and physically and emotionally, right? If you're empty and the tank is empty, not going anywhere,
Mhm.
you got to put gas in the car, okay?
100%. Oh, the things that we have to struggle with at our age this time. And then, raising children is like a whole nother thing. So,
Yes. And that's I think that's pretty normal, right? So you're depleted, right? You're running constantly, taking care of things and doing things, and then you're expected to, get in bed and instead of just go, oh, thank God I'm in bed. Leave me alone, right?
yeah,
That's how I felt.
that's how I feel every day.
Yeah, I mean, during that time period, I didn't go to bed and go, all right, I've got so much. And no,
Oh my God, it's so true. Well, I guess my question is after we get out of perimenopause, I guess it depends on our lifestyle, right? Like if we're still running 5,000 miles an hour, like does our sex drive ever come back?
personally, yes.
Okay, great.
It's great, actually. I mean, there's a lot of other things that could happen, right? So there's a lot of different symptoms, but there's a lot of solutions for those things as well. So we're very lucky to live in a time period where there's all of these things available to us, and it doesn't have to, be the end. I hope not. I hope no end.
Well, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on this too. It's like we're also if we're not feeling good about ourselves, like whether we don't love our weight, we don't love how we feel out of body. Like to be intimate is so hard because it's hard for us to like feel sexy or feel like wanted. And so I think that's like a whole nother thing too that we have to tackle is like feeling good about ourselves.
100%. So I'll tell you a funny story. So when I was 80 pounds overweight, we would go to the beach and I would be covered from head to toe. So I would have a dress on, I would have leggings under the dress, okay? And I would refuse to wear a bathing suit because, oh my gosh, how could I possibly wear a bathing suit? So I'd sit at the beach and sweat it out. And it was just so odd, right? So everybody would be like, "What is wrong with you? Like, where's your bathing suit?" And I was like, I cannot be seen. I mean, that would have been mortifying to me back then, right? And
Yeah.
so I had to unlearn that behavior and be okay with my own body, but that took a lot of work. So, yes, lifting weights is going to help you feel proud of your body for what it's able to do, even if you're not hitting that magic number on the scale, because your body composition changes when you're lifting weights. You build muscle, you lose body fat. Maybe the number on the scale stays the same. It doesn't matter. You're just going to feel really good physically, emotionally, and mentally, and you're going to be proud of yourself for what you've achieved, right? What you're overcoming. Fixing up your nutrition is going to give you energy, right? Clean energy. So imagine Imagine you're driving a Maserati or whatever kind of car. I don't even know their names because I'm not into cars. But let's say you're a Maserati, or I don't know, give me a really crazy
I feel
car.
like Maserati, you're right there.
All right, so we're a Maserati and we go to the gas station and we put diesel in it, right? Or 87 proof, whatever it is, the cheapest option, right? That Maserati is not going to run at its max performance. You have to put the ultra best fuel into it if you want the fuel to match the vehicle. So we're all Maseratis. We're all walking around and living, breathing. I call it natural intelligence rather than AI. Natural intelligence Maseratis, okay? And we're feeding it diesel or whatever kind of the worst possible fuel you can imagine. That vehicle is going to choke.
Mhm.
It's not going to run efficiently. It's not going to perform at its best horsepower. It's just not going to feel the same, right? And eventually it's going to break down, which is what's happening to our bodies because we're putting in a subpar fuel in the form of garbage packaged non-foods.
Mhm.
And so when you change that up and you start putting in premium fuel into your body and exercising and lifting weights and, taking care of your physical vehicle, right? You're going to feel proud of yourself and you're going to be like, yeah, I'm hot, I'm sexy, I'm cute. Like, pay attention to me, right? Part
Mhm.
of the reason why our libido is low is because we don't want anybody to pay attention to us because we're ashamed,
Mhm.
right? And so when you cut yourself off from admiration, you cut yourself off from getting a compliment, you're cutting off that energy that they're giving us, right? To fire us up like the spark, you're cutting it off. You're like, nope, I'm closed for business. So don't even send the spark in my direction.
It's so true. It's so true. And it's like, yeah, now it's just like, okay, I think for me, where I sit right now, I'm like, all of this is so inspiring. And I'm like, okay, I just need to like start, and continue to do the work and to show up for myself and continue to give myself good food and not drink alcohol. And it's so funny, like we're always, and this is my headspace too. I'm like, oh, well, I already screwed up this week, so I'm just gonna wait till Monday, or oh, I'm just gonna get back on my routine when the kids go back to school in 2 weeks or whatnot, and you just gotta start. Like if you keep pushing it off, right? I'm assuming you're just gonna keep pushing it off and keep telling yourself that, oh, but you can just restart it again.
Yeah. So what I tell everybody when they talk to me about coaching, so the question usually is, well, when should I start? I'm like, this second, right now. You start when the iron is hot. Just strike. Just go boom, and you're in.
Yeah.
That's it. It's over. Now you're in, and now we're in this container, and there's no going back. I locked the door. You can't leave. You can't get out. So now we got to figure out how do we move forward, right? Because that in and out, I'm not sure. That's just a lack of commitment to it.
Hmm.
And it's coming from fear of failing, right? So when you're iffy about something, you give yourself a way out.
Mm.
And you're like, well, yeah, I'm gonna bomb, or I bombed yesterday. It's that inconsistency that your mind is trying to create as a like a fail safe, right? But if somebody says to you, I'm gonna lock you up into this room, you cannot get out, and you have to figure out how to make this work. You don't have a choice now. You're going to do it.
Mhm.
You're not going to eat, right? Or you're not going to be able to survive. So that's kind of part of the mindset. So once you decide, you strike and you're in, and now you're like, okay, I'm going to figure this out. And every day you might make mistakes, but you're still going to keep moving forward. Because there's no going back. The door's locked. That's it, right? And a lot of times that's exactly what we do in our coaching group. So if somebody says, well, I'm going on vacation next week, I don't care. You started. Whether you're going on vacation or something's coming up, that's going to be part of life. Things are going to happen. But we can still figure out what to eat because you're going to eat anyway.
Yeah.
You're going to be eating anyway, right? So why not figure out what to eat maybe 3 days in advance and have it ready and know exactly what the plan is and take out decision fatigue, right? So you're not going to have to think about what you're going to eat because you've already figured it out. The past version of you figured it out and made the menu, and future version of you is going to be like, yep, there you go. I got this,
Mhm.
especially when we're really busy. So when we're super busy, decision fatigue is a destroyer of the lifestyle because and it's understandable, like, oh my gosh, who the heck wants to think about yet another thing or figure out what the heck we're going to eat or what the right macros are, the right like, no, you don't want to do it in the moment. You want to have it planned in advance. So very easy structure to your meals. A lot of women don't like to eat in the morning, so have a protein smoothie, right? Easy to digest. Just drink it quickly, be done with it, right? So protein powder, spinach, kale, banana, apple, whatever you like, done. Next meal, maybe you're still not hungry. Your appetite hasn't kicked in yet, right? It takes a couple of months before you get your appetite back. So maybe you have a yogurt parfait, right? With some berries, with a sprinkle of granola, maybe like a tiny bit of PB2 powder to give it like a peanut buttery taste and a tiny drizzle of honey. Done. You're done. That's your second meal. Third meal, maybe you're still not that hungry. Egg whites, easy to eat, right? Easy to digest. So 5 egg whites, 2 yolks, piece of toast, maybe some squash, maybe some vegetables, whatever kind of vegetable you like, it doesn't matter. Just keep it on not so starchy, right? So tomatoes, spinach, mushrooms, whatever you like. Easy. That's so easy to digest, right? And if you're on the go, every place now offers egg whites. You could get an egg white scrambled omelet with mushrooms and spinach and a little bit of feta cheese or whatever, right?
Mhm.
Easy. And then you have one more meal, or you could split that up into 2 meals to figure out. So you can have one snack later on, maybe a protein bar if you're on the go. I'm not a big fan of protein bars, but in this case, busy moms, go for it.
Mhm.
And then all you got to do is dinner. So you keep repeating these meals every single day. Just repeat the same meal every single day. Same exact rotation. Smoothie, yogurt parfait, egg white omelet, protein bar. You change it up by changing, maybe instead of mushrooms, you put in tomatoes in your omelet. And maybe instead of a banana, you put in an avocado in your smoothie. And maybe in your parfait, instead of blueberries, you put mangoes, and you change up the flavor, but the structure is the same. And you just keep hitting these points. Boom, 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 boom. You will feel different, I promise.
It sounds so easy.
It
As I
is.
meal plan, that will be in the meal planning, and I love that. Thank you for all of this. Like I was like looking over all this. I'm like, God, I was just talking to a group of friends about this and like how we all just are struggling. And I think all these like small little tidbits of information you gave us today is just so inspiring and helpful and motivating. And so I'm very honored and so happy that you were here today.
Thank you, Heather. I had a great time. This is the first podcast I've ever talked about libido. And I think it's so important. And I always wonder how come nobody ever asks me about that? Because it's such a big deal. And I feel like there's so much shame around it, right? Like we don't want to talk about it, but it's the elephant in the room. Like, of
100%.
course, our libido is affected, our hormones are all over the place. And sometimes it actually goes in the other direction. So, low, high, it
Mhm.
oscillates. So hang in there.
Thank you. I mean, it's true. Like you were saying, like, everybody has experienced it. Like, why not talk about it? Because, I mean, yeah, everyone doesn't like to have those kind of conversations, but we're all feeling it and we all want to know, right? And so, and probably a lot of these are the reasons why you're fighting with your husband. I mean, I would imagine, like these are important things that you need to conquer and be able to move forward through. So, I love a tough conversation. It's always fun for me, so I'm glad we talked about it. Tell our listeners how they can find you, how they, we'll put it in the show notes too, but just, how they can find everything you have going on.
Yes, so you can find me on Instagram, How Good Can It Get? And you can find me on our website at thehouseofrose.com. Those are the two places.
How did you get the name, House of Rose?
So the House of Rose is basically, I wanted it to be almost like a tribute to the body,
Mm,
right? Because I call it a vehicle, your house, your terrain, right? This is your property right here. And the rose symbolizes the highest frequency in terms of vibration and resonance, is the highest vibrational flower out there. That's why it's chosen to represent and symbolize love and God, right? So the highest vibrational flower.
mhm.
And the house of God to me is your body. Your body is your temple.
Yeah.
So that's what it means. And then Thor is the acronym, right? So THOR. And Thor stands for strength, fertility. It stands for Thor is known to be the protector of humanity.
Mhm.
And it's, masculine and feminine at the same time.
So good. I love that. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so glad we got connected. I'm definitely going to go like social media stalk you and your podcast and all the things. So, again, thanks for being a guest today.
Thank you, Heather. It was my pleasure.